Basically, based on their motivation, they will choose a specific. They will choose one of five negotiation strategies. So we have the fundamental strategies are competitive, and this actually in strictness, in competitiveness. It goes from 1 to 5. So the most competitive strategies is at 1, and the least competitive is at 5. Depending on your motivations, you will choose between between the strategies. And actually, during the negotiation, your strategy can change. Actually, what we will see later is that good negotiators will actually be collaborative, or even compromising in the early stages in order to find value, in order to address the real needs that they discover at the opposite side. So by giving something that is of little value to them to the other side, in return of something that is of high value to us, but of little value to the other side, you can create value. So in the early stages, there will be more an inclination to be more collaborative, compromising. Well, in the latter stages, once you have identified the value and the value is on the table, then it's a matter of, okay, who gets most of the value that we created, and we will see this later on in this presentation. What exactly that looks like in terms of economic value, but the strategy is usually is not singular. It's there are multiple strategies that will change during the different stages of negotiation. So the fundamental strategies are competitive, which is basically head to head. Is very often focused on the zero sum idea of basically there is a certain value on the table, and I want to get as much as possible, and whatever I take you don't get, and whatever you take I cannot get. So we are competing to get the biggest share of the pie, but the pie is defined. So there is that is it. That's all the value there is. The pie is just that. Collaborative is more of, instead of competing head to head, you're looking at you're sitting at the same side of the table and you're looking at the problem. So you're trying to collaborate in order to create most value for the two of you. Compromising is more of giving in. That's more of, let's meet each other halfway. Why don't we split the difference? Avoiding is basically trying to avoid confrontation. This is if you have a long-term interest in the relationship, then avoidance could be a very effective strategy in order to make sure that you get the chance to develop the relationship further, in order to get bigger benefit down the road. And accommodating is basically, just give in to whatever they want. This is a strategy that happens a lot in shops in Japan, I believe, where basically we are accommodating the customer always, because the customer is king. So why would we choose different strategies? It has to do with what drives us, our vision, but also other things like how strong is your bet now? What backup do you have? Do you have a good alternative? If this deal fails, do I have a good alternative? If the stronger the alternative, the more competitive your negotiation strategy can be. Do I have time to negotiate? If I'm under time pressure, if I need certain raw materials quickly, otherwise my production comes to a halt, I have very little time. That means that I cannot afford to be competitive in my negotiation. So as a raw materials supplier, if I know that, then I can be very competitive and say, well, take it or leave it. If I know that the other side will incur big economic losses if I don't supply to them, that is so that is a signal for me to start to become more and more competitive. Then how important is the relationship? If the relationship is very important, like if I am a very small manufacturer for a big car brand in Japan, then very often that is the only customer that I have. So that relationship means everything to me. That means that I cannot be competitive in my negotiation strategy. I need to be accommodating in order to keep the relationship alive. Otherwise, it's the end of my business. So that is a very vulnerable situation that will put me in a very disadvantageous position in terms of negotiation. And then, of course, it also depends whether it is a small deal or it's a big deal. Whether we're talking about a carpet or we're talking about a house, that makes a big difference. If we're talking about a house, I need to be competitive, otherwise I will incur big losses. But if it's just a matter of a carpet, money that is not that important to me, then I can be more collaborative or compromising. It doesn't make that much. So these negotiation strategies will change. So we need to assess what drives the other side, and also what is their situation. What does this deal mean to them, and adjust your strategy accordingly. And so it's also about psychology. It's not only the business interest that is at stake, it's also individual interests that are at stake. What drives people? So if you are negotiating with a team and you figure out that the head negotiator just achieved that position, just got that position, then you can be pretty sure that he wants to show his skills, his capacity, and so you can expect a tough negotiation. But if he's experienced and he knows a little bit about win-win negotiation, and you can expect a little bit more leniency. It depends on the situation. If this is the end of the month and you know that the bonuses are coming up, then that is also important to consider. So basically, you need to be aware of what drives people. What is their situation at the moment? How important is that deal to them? And also, what is the situation of the individual members on the team? And what is the balance between the team? So that's why European negotiators very often have multiple members, and everybody has a role, but one role is observer. The observer is looking for signs and signals to observe what drives the people, what is the relationship between the members of the team, trying to figure out, just by very carefully observing what's happening at the other side, to see, okay, to get a little bit a better understanding of what drives them, because that will be a signal for our team to start to change gears and change your...
What do you mean observer?
Somebody who is on the team doesn't do a lot of talking, doesn't make a lot of decisions, but who's just there to observe.
Seller side?
Or the seller side or buyer side, in any negotiation, doesn't matter.
It's interesting.
So it's somebody on the team.
What is the role?
The role is basically to observe the process, see what's going on, look at the individual members, see who makes concessions, what goes on, see if people are starting to twitch, or what happens. So this person is really there to see, okay, what drives those people, what is their relationship, and how did they respond to our strategy. So when you are breaking the meeting, that's when the person who has been observing becomes active, who's giving feedback and say, I saw this, I saw that happen, I saw this happen. Then you look back at your negotiation strategy and you say, okay, maybe we should change gears and
It must be senior person.
It could be a senior person. Yeah, usually it's a senior person.
It's interesting for me looking for that job. Is it?
Well, so I heard from Yuko. She works for a Belgian company. Sure.
Oh, she's doing that?
So when they have meetings with Belgians in Japan, I heard from her that very often these Belgians cannot read the air at all. You know? So her role is not so much negotiate, but just be there and observe what happens.
Oh, I see. Okay.